Folks, welcome to our panel. I'd like to introduce Gerald here. Gerald is chieftain at Inzen Studio. Inzen creates innovative playing experiences inspired by Asian entertainment throughout the years, and it's taking the world by storm in 2015 with its first stop being China. Yeah, great. And I'll let Gerald introduce the rest of the panel for us.
Hello. So hi, I'm Gerald. Thank you for having me. So on my left we have Masahiko Honma, General Partner of Incubate Fund, and then we have Hiro Mashita from M&S Partners, and Brian Kwek from Yisbrit Games. So maybe you can check out their bios on the conference program. Just one of the things as we were contemplating this panel. This panel is one of the most hard-working investor groups that I've ever come across. You'll see why later as they tell their stories. So today, just to give you an overview of the session flow, we're going to go through three things, right? One is we're going to go through a strategic overview of each fund, or each person, each company. A strategic overview of how they see the market and how they're building relationships as funds with other partners around the world. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we're going to go through is how they source for companies and people and games, in Brian's perspective, to fund. And the last thing is what happens after they invest. How's that follow-up process like? So you actually have a comprehensive view of each person. Actually, these are great people up here. It's really an honor to be here with them, and you get to have an overview of their thinking and what it will be like to work with them, which is always important, right? So maybe we'll start. We'll kick off with Honma. So so maybe Honma, maybe you can take us through your fund, especially how. Where your fund is strategically right now. You have some pretty impressive LPs in the fund, Tencent, Sega among some of them. So strategically, where's the fund at right now? And where do you spend most of your time in terms of building relationships? How does that work? Yeah.
Okay, my name is Honma, founder and general partner of the Incubate Fund. Incubate Fund is one of the largest seed stage venture capital fund based in Tokyo and Singapore. We are very dedicated to the mobile and the gaming and the internet startup for the making investment. Gerald mentions most of our backer investor into our fund is the name like Tencent, Sega, Mixi, and Yahoo Japan, and TBS Holdings, one of the major broadcasting company. They are very keen on finding out a new business opportunity inside Japan and also the Southeast Asia. The reason why they just invest in us is they just require us to find out this kind of opportunity. So one of the things I spend most of the time to just finding out the opportunity, also the supporting the portfolio company is, especially here in this region, is of course one of the entertainment business, as well as a game-related business, including the mobile gaming market platform or payment gateway, also the game users community, and such arena.
Understand. So maybe we can elaborate more on in terms of partnerships. So, what types of partnerships do you form as a fund with some of these partners? Like what happens there? So what types of partnerships are you seeking as a fund to help your portfolio companies?
Okay, as I said, most of the LP are corporate investor from Japan in the entertainment gaming business. So most of these people are keen to find out the collaboration partnership to just support their title from Japan, to publish it to the, let's say, not only the Southeast Asian market, but for the Western market as well, because as you all know, it's unfortunately it's most of the Japanese gaming company are not good, are not good at doing a business outside Japan. So once they are finding out a good partner, their trust for these people, and they just pass their asset to their partner in Southeast Asia. So this is a kind of, I think, a win-win relationship. So for instance, even though the Yahoo Japan is a IT media company, are very keen on doing a business in Southeast Asia to make an investment as an Indonesian company, as well as they just go for the gaming business as well.
Understand. So it seems like the partnerships that you're sort of building seem to be channel-related, market channels and opening up market channels. So any company that is invested by you may either be a part of this channel or may be able to gain access to this channel. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. For instance, even the Inzen studio is could be a very good partner for the Japanese gaming company, because the situation is right now in Japan market, gaming market in Japan is even though the top player like a Sega or the Ganho or Mixi, these top title holder are very struggle to just keeping their their market share inside the Japan market. And in terms of the human resource, they don't have any ample resource to do the business outside Japan. So but on the other hand, they do have money. So they need to have the partners. And once they just invest in some kind of money, then the partner around here should take all the money and do the business by their own. This is a kind of relationship. So like in the studio, they are capable to publish their title outside of China and just bring this title to the China market. This is exactly the task and business many Japanese gaming companies are not good at.
Understand. Oh, sorry, full disclosure, Inzen is a portfolio company of Honma's. Just just saying that. Thank you for bringing that up. Maybe now's a good time to transition to Hiro. So Hiro, maybe you can share with us some of your perspectives as well, and perhaps a quick intro as
Okay. Hi, my name is Hiro Mashita, and then I'm living in Singapore right now, and then I'm doing the mainly early stage investment, especially in mobile internet space in US, Japan, China, India, and Southeast Asia. And then basically, I really like supporting the growth of the company. So sometimes not only growth of the company, but also global expansion. Because I have some sort of the good experience of the CFO, CEO, the BD, head of corporate venture capital arms, and then internet businesses, and then joint venture with the overseas companies, and then blah blah blah. So I really like to see my invested company grow really rapidly, and then make something big happen, and then contribute to the ecosystem, Asian and Western European countries. So basically, my method is like a really opportunity basis, but more like a early stage, and then discuss and struggle together with the entrepreneurs. And also, in terms of the entertainment and game industry, I've been seeing the history of the game industry for like 8 or 9 years. But nowadays, I feel like it's a very competitive market right now. So sometimes it's very hard for me to predict which one is winning the game. But still, this industry is becoming really, really huge. For example, like China. For example, just a native app market in Japan, people say total market size is like 5 billion US, and now in China is supposed to overwhelm the Japanese market, for example, and also Indian market is catching up really rapidly, and then Southeast Asia as well. So actually, a very for the investor like me, it's very difficult to hit the kind of jackpot. But instead, I have been involved in like a messenger and a social community type of investment and deals. So that's why I invest in the number one game video sharing platform in US, which is called Camcode, and then they have the more than 150 million users right now, and their SDK is really really helpful for the developers. Developers can easily get the like more engaged users for free, and also you know, the users can enjoy the community service community of the some titles for the SDK. So I feel like, oh my God, this is like a win-win situation. So for game developers and then Camcode, you know, everybody would be happy to generate the ecosystem of the entertainment industry. So I decided to, you know, search for the like a good service and high quality one around the entertainment industry and stuff. So nowadays, because of the my history of the experience of the entertainment industry, and also the investment of Camcode, now I have the very good friends in the game industry, Japan, China, and then Southeast Asia. So at this moment, even though I'm not investing in the company, but if I see that this he or she is a very good friend of mine, and then I don't mind, you know, introducing the friends cross border. Sometimes, you know, some game developer would like to go abroad, but they need some partnership local overseas. In that case, you know, I just don't mind in introducing, you know, connecting those people. And then if, you know, something good happens, I'm so totally happy. So even I'm an investor sometimes, but sometimes just as a friend, doing just introduction and stuff. But once I do the investment, I try to see the growth of the company. So I try to struggle the operation together with the management teams. So that's my brief intro, and then just what I'm doing in this industry. Yes.
Thank you, Hiro. I will come back to actually both Honma and Hiro a little bit later in terms of where they're spending their time building their networks and which countries and regions they're focused on. So perhaps now we'll just transition a little bit to Brian and see what Brian's take on what Brian's intro is and how Brian is building out his, I guess, business development. What strategic partnerships are you building for your fund?
Yes. Well, first off, my name is Brian Kwek. I'm based in Singapore. Some of you may know me as the co-founder of a development studio called Witching Hour Studios. Made games like Raven Mark. More recently, last year, I founded this company called Isbrid Games. It functions as think of it as an indie publisher label. We focus on multi-platform projects, which are more, you know, we try to curate projects that are ambitious, that have a certain sort of charisma, that really resonates with a particular sort of niche market. Not to say that we look for super art house games, but these games have to have an identifiable market and they can be commercially viable both for us as a publisher and our project. It's a project that the developer can sustain themselves with. So we kind of our role is to provide marketing and funding assistance to the developer. We work on a project basis. We don't take equity or invest into the company, which technically means that we're not really a fund. Like I don't operate a fund like Hiro-san or Honma-san do, but we try and focus on helping the developer directly. We like to think of it as going into the war zone with them, so that we're on the ground with them at trade shows like the Penny Arcade Expo or GDC or you know, E3, things like that. Wherever it's viable for us to be and where it makes sense for the game to have exposure, we want to take the game to the show along with the developers. And what Gerald said about strategic relationships, what we try to focus on is in building relationships with the platform holders, you know, your Sony, Microsoft, Apple, Google, sort of, or Humble Bundle, GOG.com, and that's for the distribution side of things. And we also, but more importantly, we try to build relationships of trust with the mainstream media, because of the mainstream gaming media, to be precise, because what we, the platforms that we tend to focus on, the games are more suitable for premium core audience, you know, on the PCs, on consoles. Not to say that we eschew mobile, but that's more of a sort of a ancillary target. So at the end of the day, the only way to really reach this sort of market is you know, to encourage word of mouth and constant top of mind impressions. And the only real sustained way to do that is either virality or mass media. So that's where we spend a lot of time, not just, you know, being on the floor at the conventions, but, you know, trying to reach out to handpick media people who actually get the games that we're trying to make, and we want to make sure that it's relevant to both their audience and the people, the media personalities themselves. So I mean, anything from like the journalists on Kotaku to PewDiePie, or, you know, well, I won't say we serve PewDiePie per se, but people like him who have that strong connection to their audience.
I understand. So, and perhaps this transitions a little to the next part of it. With Brian, I understand that one of the key strategies is building relationships with the press, and on board your team, you actually do have
an ex-journalist, well, not ex, freelance, but she was one of my partners, Cassandra, basically spent you know, 7-8 years in the industry, and you know, it's critical to have an understanding of what when you have a game, you need to know how. If it's something that needs to get in front of the mainstream gaming media, you need to understand what's the hook for this game to the audience that you're trying to serve. If you have no idea how to sell this game, you know, maybe there's a fundamental question as a developer that you haven't answered about why am I making it, who am I making this for?
Got it. Thanks so much for that. So perhaps we can come back around to Honma right now. So Brian's obviously been spending a lot of time in the West. Honma, what regions are you spending most of your time on these days, and what are you learning from those experiences?
Okay, especially in this year, I just spend more time to build a relationship with Chinese giants like Tencent, because every relationship is kind of very important for creating the good startups and help nature this growth. But most likely, I felt more on the kind of building the relationship in the Southeast Asia and building a relationship in Japan and China is a little bit different. I just feeling, because most likely is for me as a foreigner to just making a communication with people in Singapore, people in the Southeast Asia is very easy and comfortable. But on the other hand, most of the communication is a little bit flat, I think. Most of the people are very nice to everybody. But thinking about how I build a relationship in Japan, I build a relationship in China is most likely is just a one-to-one relationship with kind of key persons. So that I most likely is I just identify the key person to just help our portfolio company to grow, and just do the drinking late at night, and then making a relationship. That's a way of maybe Japanese way of doing, or the Chinese way of doing. So the kind of Southeast Asia and China and Japan is not the market. It's a kind of person and the key person who, if you tackle into these markets, I think it takes a time, but it's a one step-by-step approach to just build the key person and then the relationship through this person. I think this is a way I've been doing a communication and a relationship, build a relationship in China and Japan, and maybe in the future in this region as well.
I understand. So it seems like one of the things that perhaps the portfolio companies can learn from you is in terms of, I notice the cultural adaptation, your cultural learning is, you do make the effort to understand and to learn. And perhaps one of the examples is that you moved to Singapore like how many years?
Almost 3 years.
3 years ago, ahead of most of the other Japanese funds to understand the environment and
Yeah, of course there are the cultural difference, of course, but things like the I don't think the cultural difference is a major barrier to do the business in the different market. More likely is, of course, we do have the same goal and the direction to be successful in the gaming industry. Of course, we just play exactly the same game like in the mobile. So it's more likely the thing is most of the Asian studio or the people in this gaming industry in Southeast Asia is located physically separated. So the kind of sometimes the builder it's okay to just say hi and very casual communication in this kind of the event is very useful. But thing is to just narrow the gap in the cultural gap is we need to just go for more deeper discussion later on. It's not a cultural thing. It's a very business natural business way of doing is to build a stronger relationship.
Understand. I think one of the things as we were chatting just before, you're mentioning something about the game companies in Tokyo with the proximity with each other, it being very easy for them to share intel. And over here, you've noticed something quite different, right?
Yeah. It's a kind of one of the challenge for the startup and the gaming business in here is in Japan and in China. So if you walk around the very inside the Tokyo, inside the Beijing, you can meet with many publishers. But here in this region, you cannot find the publisher. You need to fly over to somewhere to find a good publisher. So the communication density, also the kind of the how many times they meet with how many occasions they can see and talk casually with a publisher is not that many here in this region. That's a kind of difference.
I understand. Actually, just to elaborate a little bit on that, we learned that in China there's a term called 刷脸, which means it's literally refreshing the feed, refreshing your face at different events so people know you and are able to acknowledge you and have deeper discussions with you. So perhaps now is an appropriate time to go over to Hiro. So Hiro, where are you spending most of your time these days, and what networks are you building?
Actually, I live in Singapore, but hopping around any place in the world. For example, like tomorrow I'm in Hong Kong, Friday, Saturday, Delhi, Singapore, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Bangalore, something like that. So hopping around because I really feel like a face-to-face conversation is quite needed to bury the gap between like two cultures or three cultures. Anyway, as Honma-san mentioned, like sometimes the gap, you have to talk directly, like because it's like sometimes you need a personal relationship, and then sometimes you don't have to hesitate to speak up, and then you definitely talk to success, to have the successful business together, right? So and also if I do the face-to-face, I can get knowledge of the way of thinking, and then the way of thinking the future about the entrepreneurs. And then if I understand the vision and then the way of thinking and the strategies correctly, and then when I'm hopping around other country, I can talk with the local potential partner about my invested companies. So I feel like sometimes like the head of overseas BD guy, and then because I can understand the invested companies way of thinking, and then also the potential partner in front of me, and then I can connect really nicely. So later on, if I arrange the actual meeting, two CEOs, and then the possibility of the setting up alliance partnership is quite high, and so that's why I'm try to hopping around. And also I'm very supportive for the setting up local operation. So for example, supporting the overseas companies setting up a Japan office or something. So physically be there, and then try to help the headhunting process because I had a lot of operational experiences in Japan, for example. So there are a bunch of the people who used to work with me, and then I, sometimes ask them to give me a great introduction of the local people, and also set up the alliance partnership local with big guys, most likely. So, so that's why I'm decided to hopping around. Sometimes it's very tough. Airplane, sometimes, overnight, and I have to sleep on airplane. But my specialty is, one of the specialties, I can sleep on airplane, so that's a very good thing. Yeah, and also I try to sit on economy seat all the time, because all the time I, talk with the entrepreneur, hey, let's do the lean approach, initial stage especially. And then if I do the, business class, whatever, right, and then I feel like, I can not in the same page. I mean, so I, around my age, and all the time, like a 9-hour, 10-hour flight to US, and then Singapore to Japan, 7 hours, and then from here to Bangalore, 4.5 hours. So all the time economy class is a kind of my waist is really, really painful. but the thing is, that experience, I try to see the things at the same level with the most likely the early stage companies. So this is just one example. Like I try to think together and then discuss together. So I don't want to say that hey, I'm an investor, but I'd like to say that I'm partner. So let's struggle together. So that's why face-to-face is very important for me. So for the question from Gerald, basically I'm hopping around, so I cannot say any particular place I all the time stay. So
very cool. Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing the economy class story. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. This is just one example. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, so where are you spending most of your time these days?
Honestly, with where we're concerned, so there are 2 types of people we need to link up. Well, 3 types. I already mentioned earlier that we have we have to talk to the platform holders. We have to talk to the media. So most of our time is really spent chasing the media at the various trade shows, or linking up with them directly in wherever they may be based, in New York, in London, SF, and so on. But also the developers as well. I mean, in order to suss out new projects that are are worthy of being receiving funding, we have to seek them, scout them out however we can through like word of mouth networking. If I go to Berlin, then I'll talk to like the Berlin indie dev scene to find out what's going on there. Similarly, in it's just the indie scenes in San Francisco or Austin. I haven't been to Austin yet, but that's the things, places like that we have to find out what's going on at the source. Because frankly, if in my experience, sitting here sitting comfortably at home, trying to ask for pictures online, the quality is like, it's not as impressive as the way I see indie developers is that they value the freedom. They also are very focused on their craft. They really I feel like the industry doesn't do enough to treat them with respect as the craftsmen that they are. Kind of like in Japan, you have the concept of the shokunin, that that they are respected for their craft, and we don't really see that much in Southeast Asia, let alone even in the more developed Western industries. The indie scenes are sort of a sign of that, but the market's only rewarding some as opposed to not every worthy project is being seen, and that's one of the key problems we're trying to solve is to meet. When we find worthy projects, we want to help them solve that problem of visibility. So I do have to answer the question of traveling, I have to spend time in these among these communities to see what's actually happening, or I depend on my my partner Cassandra, who is people come to them to journalist types with pictures, so her network tends to hear about these kind of things as well.
Yeah, understand. So that's really cool. So as we wrap up this portion of it, it's quite interesting to see where Honma is spending a lot of time in this region in China, Hero is spending a lot of time in a lot of places, and he's very energetic as well, which is a consensus among all of us where we talked just now. Honma's known Hero for 15 years, right?
Oh yeah, as I and Hiro have been known each other for 15 years. He's one of the most energetic and hardworking investor. Maybe it's Hiro and I is not like an investor, and a very labor-intensive investor, not capital-intensive.
Yeah, and Brian's also spent. So there is a common thread. These guys work really hard. I told you, right? So let's move on to the next phase of it. So, so perhaps we'll return to Honma. Honma, what is your? How do you source for, or how do you meet new companies or founders to invest in?
Yeah, the most likely is we are seed stage investor, so that we are looking for the more likely the team and the founders, not the company actually. But most likely is the new opportunity for us, and it's coming through our existing portfolio company. So most likely the startup and the founder is just communicate with existing, really bit successful companies CEO. That's why this new opportunity comes through our existing network, as well as kind of friends investors network, like a friends investor like Hiro or others. Most BC are very close community. So I have a lot, most likely is a very connected network in Tokyo, as well as Southeast Asia. That's a kind of through the opportunity.
I understand. Perhaps you can share a little bit as well. You're very active in the incubate camp scene. That's the kind of, in addition to the normal kind of networking and in terms of the gaining the new opportunity, in addition to this, we just doing the more different approach. It's first thing is event. We will having the event like Incubate Camp, which is very similar to that of Y Combinator in US. Is we just have the 2 days camp together with openly recruited 10 to 15 founders team, as well as we invite a mentorship who is a established network and experience in the internet industry in Japan, most likely. And the investor and the founder team make one team and brush up the business idea on the 2 days. And on the end of the event, we will make an investment decision on the spot. So the most likely, I felt that most of the startup event and the pitching event is founder is seriously making a pitch and the investor listen to like this. Yeah. I don't like this kind of approach. It's Hiro said is founder and investor is just a partner relationship. It's not one side is the top and the one side is bottom. It's not like that. So we just very make it important to the collaborative approach between the founder and the investor. And also sometimes seeing the kind of market, sometimes the founder, not the founder side, the investor side will identify the business opportunity first. Sometimes we form the company first to, let's say, for dedicated to the payment gateway in the Southeast Asia or publishing network in Southeast Asia. Everybody just sees a kind of untapped opportunity in the gaming industry as well as other internet space. So not only the founder, but also the investor side just show the idea to the founder and get them, try to convince them to involve. We ensure the kind of several million of investment first. Then why don't you just join the board together? This kind of approach we just been doing in the case like aiming and case like Pokerabo. Even though the gaming industry, I have done similar case a lot. So that's really interesting. So just to sum up, you and the other investors identify a business case or a gap in the market, and you form a specific company, perhaps, together with a founder of the company. That's really interesting. Yeah.
So the important thing is kind of direction of the business. So for instance, let's say we cannot convince every kind of founder. For instance, a founder who may have the interest in the, let's say, the education business may not come to the gaming. Or the person who are very keen on the gaming or game industry or entertainment business may not do the, let's say, healthcare business.
Yep.
So anyhow, the founder himself or herself has something in mind.
Yeah.
So through the discussion, I will just suggest the other way of realizing the founder's idea into the reality.
Understand. Thank you. And Hero, how about you? What is your method of sourcing for?
Yeah, basically the from friends of VC, accelerator, incubators, and also companies, entrepreneurs who I invested in the past, and then also the friends, other type of friends. Yeah.
And I understand you are quite active in some of the 500 startups in Y Combinator, some of these networks. Yeah.
Actually, some incubator and accelerator really good, having good jobs. For example, and then also I sometimes synchronize with the entrepreneurs of the companies under the management of the 500 or like Y Combinator. And then, for example, last March I was invited to the demo day of the Y Combinator, and then within 2 days I got the 105 presentations. And then on the following day I decided 80 investments, and then I already completed all wire transactions. So my decision making really quick. As long as I can feel like I can contribute to the company, and also I feel like this company definitely should be more global, and I can help, and then that's a way. And then the other way is like as long as the company is contributing to society, the human beings, and the environment, and then maybe I feel like strongly feel that I should support this company, and then I pick up the company and then negotiate within the day, and then decide the investment. So I already started with most of the invested companies at that moment, how to expand business to Asia already. So I'm pretty much enthusiastic of that investment, also those investments, and also how to support the strategies with them.
So it seems like for Hero, your method is you have to see yourself actively contributing to be able to contribute to the company before.
Yeah. For me, the most important thing is how much I can contribute to the company, because the money issue is the next thing. Actually, and also investment process is just one time. It's so easy. But the thing is decision-making process is also tough, but the thing is how to support is like ongoing basis. I have to think of how to support is 24 hours anyway. So that's the most exciting moment for me, and also I would be so happy if I see the companies growing really rapidly and then become quite influential to the society, and so that's why. My way is like if I feel like I cannot contribute to the company, so I simply turn down the deal.
I understand. Thank you. And Brian, what is your perspective? How do you source for deals or games to invest in?
Just to clarify, can we talk about like how do we identify, as in like decide on what kind of projects we want to invest in? Because I mean, I already just now I already talked about how we try and meet them, but
what's your approach to sourcing? I mean, I guess you sort of
because I touched on that a little bit. So let me to go into a bit more detail about when we look at when a project lands on our desk and or email, and we are like is this a worthy project or not? Right, that's the question.
That's the question.
Very, very simply, we ask ourselves, what kind of legs does this game have on its own? What does the proposal have on its own merit? Can this game concept actually make headlines in its fully fledged. If I give it money but didn't provide marketing support, right? Could the game on its own make headlines on, say, Kotaku.com or Eurogamer and such without without me having to spend any money at all on those external marketing issues? Because if it already has that strength, then that's a very, very strong sign to me that us contributing to it from a marketing standpoint will help to amplify the message and make it a much stronger case and really give it the visibility that it deserves. So that's to me that's our value add. We kind of some people think of it as trying to dig for hidden gems, right?
Yes,
that's why we call it curation. We're trying to bring things that are deserving to the forefront, and the more that these worthy developers are able to surface up from the noise of especially both whether it's on Steam or the App Store, there's so much stuff out there.
Yes.
Some call it crap, some call it just a massive amount of stuff to swim through, and we want to be there for the developers that we've identified to take them through this, to cut through the chaff, so to speak.
I understand. Thank you. So let's see, we're at 38 minutes now. We have about five minutes more. So perhaps we can go into, just very quickly, into the post-investment process. So what happens after you've decided to invest in the company for Honma? What happens then?
In most of the cases, I will have the weekly regular meeting with each portfolio company I invested. And the kind of thing I would do stress on in terms of the supporting the company is decision making. So unfortunately or fortunately, the founder have to bullish to everybody. I mean, into the employee, into the investor, into the girlfriend, the wife. So the most likely is that they have to be bullish, but in reality is the founders have to make a decision in the unclear situation or uncertain situation in most of the cases. There's no clear answer. So I just do the help of how to make a decision, how to do the decision making in uncertain situation. So that we have the very limited information and also the very limited crew, but founder have to make a decision anyway. So this is a kind of one thing. And the other thing is we, investor side and founder side should agree on the basic directions. This is very important. The founder don't want to be said, very small detail thing by the investor. So they don't like it. So but most likely the important thing that sets a direction to the short term and the mid term, and also the longer term as well. So the two things is the decision making and also the direction fitting.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, as a portfolio company of Honma's, that's one of Honma's strengths in the decision making process. And a lot of the time, I think as entrepreneurs or founders of companies, it's very easy in unclear situations to make decisions based on fear. And what Honma does is there's sort of this reassurance and just going through the process of, what are the outcomes we agreed upon, what are the outcomes we are seeking, and then we move forward from there. So that's really appreciate that advice as a portfolio company. Hiro, what is your follow-up process with founders of companies?
Okay, the various type of the supports, but there are mainly three main issues. The first one is because I really support would like to support the company, so I try to pretend like the head of the overseas BD guy. Like after talking seriously about the vision and then strategy of the company, and then after that I'm hopping around any other regions. So when I see the potential partner company, and then I pretend like BD guy, and then hey, my invested companies are doing this business, but and this type of service, and then this might be matching to your service, blah blah blah. And then once I feel like, oh, there might be a great synergy, and then next time I set up the face-to-face. So probability of setting up the local partnership, in my case, is quite high. So first issue is like I try to pretend like a BD guy. The number two is you know, as Honma-san told you guys, and you know, sometimes decision making really anything could be happening on operation. Basically, my way is like let entrepreneur to do whatever he or she wants to do. But the thing is, just if something bad happens, and then but still, entrepreneurs try to be stubborn. Stubbornness sometimes very good, but sometimes if the rapid change of the environment, sometimes being stubborn might be the collapse, the lead to the collapse of the company itself. So in that case, if I strongly believe that this might be the wrong direction, and then I try to talk with the entrepreneur, and then show the evidence why this is wrong. And then I'm not denying entrepreneurs because I really respect, But the thing is, if something bad happens and then bad decision making, bad direction, I try to convince him. And then so that's the second biggest way. And the third way is if we agree to set up the local operation overseas, maybe partnership or like direct setting up the corporation, or even joint venture. In that case, I support the setting up the local corporation and then helping the local hiring process, and also setting up the business alliance partnership. So that's the kind of in case of the companies going abroad, and then I help the more like logistic issues, and then setting up the initial stage of the local operations.
Thank you, Hiro. Brian?
Well, I mean, basically, once we've signed a deal, we're more or less, providing executive oversight. We don't get a say about the creative direction of the game. That's really where we trust. We picked this project because we trust what they're doing with the outlook, the artistic direction, and things like that. But the great thing about being focused on a project basis and focusing on the game is that if the developers are saying, oh, we insist on that, we have to put in the mechanic this way, we can always say, okay, let's prove it, let's see it in testing, play testing, and see whether it's fun, or if there's player pushback against it, then we'll see which one of us is right. If the developer is right, then we will humbly follow what they want to do. Yeah. But usually we can foresee where problems lie, and let the testing decide the direction in that sense. But otherwise, we try to provide general mentorship. Not every developer is familiar with, in terms of the business side of things, legal, accounting. So we give them advice where if they are not already familiar with it. And of course, as I've mentioned before, that we are literally there with them at the conventions, doing the marketing for the games. I'm literally cosplaying as one of the characters from a JRPG that we're releasing. So yeah, things like it's just for fun, but we like what Honma and Hiro say. We are partners with them. We are on the ground with them. That's how we think it should be.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. The investor being on the same side with the entrepreneur, just building the company together with the entrepreneurs, and that's something that where I think in the investment space is really awesome to see the amount of dedication that you put into syncing and working actively with your portfolio companies and your fundies as well. So perhaps now is a good time to open up to questions from the audience.
Let's go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. We'll pass the mic to you.
No questions for the hardest working bunch of investors that we have. We don't have, or have they more or less answered most of the burning questions?
I do have a question. Maybe that will spur somebody else to ask. So this is I think more for Honma-san and Hiro-san. Question regarding how do you you make the investment, and of course from a professional perspective, you want to be able to not only recoup your investment but make a premium on it. So how do you, I guess, guide your CEOs through that process of actually finding out what is going to be the end game for them? And for you.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
So the question is, how do you work with CEOs to educate them on the future acquisition of their company, selling their company, or going public, or whatever is the exit going to be for them, or further rounds? How do you walk them through it? Because very few CEOs have experience of actually going through that process. So the question is, how do you leverage your expertise in that to give them guidance?
Okay. Yeah, of course, most of the CEOs are kind of raising funds and doing the exit and doing IPO is most likely the first time experience to them. It's a kind of almost all cases. If we teach them and guide them, but this is just an investor talk. It's a kind of more likely the position talk for the founder side. Then I just make an intro of the kind of another founder I invested, and just go a pass beyond this stage. Just talk directly, let them talk directly, and then they feel something, the pros and cons. Now get further fund landing or make a M&A or either IPO. This is more likely the kind of direct discussion between the founder and the CEO is more, I think, helpful on both sides.
Yeah, basically, I totally agree with Honma-san. And then the thing is, the equity market is changing all the time. So environment of the capital market is, unpredictable. So, but at least we can advise, hey, this is like IPO market nowadays, and hey, this is like acquisition market, and maybe potential purchase those guys, blah blah. And then we just can't keep the conversation like that. But the thing is, once, for example, the entrepreneur and the CEO decide the IPO, and then process should be at least the preparation, like at least 2 years for the accounting period thing and stuff. So all the time from the beginning, I kept suggesting like, hey, talk with the lawyer and accountant to be. To make the company more open, showing the accountability and then credibility to the public people. Of course, it costs a lot. So all the time I try to negotiate with those professional people to reduce the cost. And then, but the thing is, the accountability is sometimes very important because if the company wants to get another financing round, Series A and maybe Series B or C. The more professional investor come, and in that case, due diligence process is quite tough. So as long as the company prepare those process, but later on anything could be happening like M&A, IPO, but the company can be ready for that. So and also for that process, most of the entrepreneur are not so quite familiar with the process. So I strongly recommend those people to hire the most trustworthy logistics administrative type of partner, like a CFO or CAO or something like that. And then CEO can focusing on more like talking with the investors and then talking with the head of the BD people or maybe head of the operation, COO. But anyway, so that's the kind of advices I all the time do. Of course, some people will not so quite familiar, and then I don't know, and all the time say I don't know how to do it. So in that case, sometimes I just utilize my people to do some logistic issues for them. In some cases, I myself talk with the accountant and then also lawyers directly for the preparation of IPO anyway, and also talking with the underwriter as well. My background is an investment bank as well, like 16 years ago. So I have a lot of underwriter friends. So I'm not an employee, but sometimes talk with them instead of the company people. So try to be very supportive for that process as well.
Thank you. I think that's all the time that we have for questions. But unless there's a quick one, does someone have a really quick question? Okay, let's do one more. Go ahead.
Right? Can I have more money?
Why don't you try asking that? Technically, here we already did, right? Because we were actually at a Incubate camp.
Quick yes or quick no?
He just wants a new laptop.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Yeah.